The fireplace crackled softly in my parents' living room. Christmas lights twinkled on the tree. The smell of my mother's gingerbread cookies filled the air. My whole family sat together laughing, opening presents. I held my wife Lauren's hand, feeling grateful for everything we had built in 3 years of marriage. She seemed tense that evening, but I figured work had exhausted her. When she stood up and asked everyone to be quiet, I smiled. I thought she was about to announce a pregnancy. That smile would be my last for a very long time. Before I tell you what happened next, I want to know where you are watching from tonight. Drop your location in the comments below. If you have ever trusted someone with your whole heart, hit that like button right now. And make sure you subscribe, because what she did next still haunts me to this day. She did not just break my heart. She tried to destroy my entire reputation in front of every person I loved. But she made one mistake. She underestimated how far I would go to find the truth. Let me take you back to where it all began. I met Lauren 4 years ago at a coffee shop in downtown Pittsburgh. She accidentally spilled her latte all over my shirt. I remember her face turning bright red as she apologized over and over again. She offered to buy me a new shirt right there on the spot. I told her I did not need a new shirt. I just needed her phone number. She laughed, and something in that laugh made me feel like I had known her my whole life. We dated for 2 years before I proposed. Nothing fancy. Just a quiet evening on the rooftop of our apartment building with the city lights below us. She cried when I got down on one knee. She said yes before I even finished asking the question. Our wedding was small, held at a little church, where my grandmother used to take me as a kid. Lauren wore a simple white dress. I wore my father's old suit. We did not have much money, but we had each other, and that felt like enough. The first 2 years of marriage were everything I had hoped for. We rented a tiny apartment on the east side of the city. The heating barely worked in winter, and the neighbors played loud music until midnight, but we made it our home. I worked as a construction engineer, often pulling 12-hour shifts to save up for a house. Lauren worked in marketing at an advertising agency downtown. We talked about having kids someday, maybe getting a dog first. Life was simple, but it was good. I never once looked at another woman. I know that sounds like something every man says, but I mean it. When my coworkers invited me to bars after work, I always declined unless Lauren could come. I wore my wedding ring even when working with heavy machinery, even when it left marks on my finger. She was my person. I could not imagine wanting anyone else. But about 6 months before that Christmas, things started to change. Lauren got promoted to a new team at her company. She began working late more often than usual. At first it was once a week, then twice, then almost every night. She would come home after 9, sometimes 10, saying she had meetings that ran over, or deadlines that could not wait. I told myself this was normal. New positions come with new responsibilities. She started mentioning a name I had never heard before, Derek Holloway. He was the creative director on her new team. She talked about how brilliant he was, how he had transformed the department, how lucky she felt to work under his leadership. I did not think much of it at the time. I trusted her completely. But small things began to pile up. Her phone was always face down on the table. She changed her password and told me it was for security reasons. She started going to the gym more frequently and buying clothes I had never seen before. The intimacy between us faded. Where we used to talk for hours now, she barely looked up from her screen. I convinced myself I was being paranoid. I told myself I needed to be more supportive, not more suspicious. 2 months before Christmas, I woke up at 2 in the morning and found her side of the bed empty. I walked through the apartment and found her sitting in the bathroom, the door cracked open, smiling at her phone. When I asked who she was texting, she said it was just a group chat with her coworkers. She seemed annoyed that I had asked. I apologized and went back to bed, but something did not feel right. A few weeks later, her company had their annual holiday party. Lauren told me it was for employees only. No spouses allowed. I thought it was strange, but I did not push it. The next day, I saw photos on social media from the event. In one of them, Lauren stood very close to a tall man in an expensive suit. His arm was almost around her waist. The caption tagged him as Derek Holloway. My stomach turned, but I shoved the feeling down. One night in early December, Lauren came home late again. When I hugged her at the door, I caught a scent I did not recognize. It was a cologne, sharp and musky, nothing like anything I owned. When I mentioned it, she told me the taxi driver must have been wearing something strong. She laughed it off. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. On Christmas morning, I woke up before sunrise. I had been planning a surprise for weeks. I bought Lauren a gold bracelet with both our initials engraved on the inside. It cost me nearly 2 months of overtime, but I wanted her to know how much she meant to me. I wrapped it carefully, hiding it in my coat pocket for the perfect moment. I thought that day would be the best Christmas we ever had. I had no idea that by midnight that bracelet would be thrown back in my face, along with an accusation that would tear my world apart. The dinner table at my parents' house seated 15 people that night. My father Harold carved the turkey at the head of the table while my mother Donna bustled around making sure everyone had enough mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce. My younger brother Marcus sat across from me with his wife. My Aunt Patricia had come with her 2 daughters. My grandparents occupied the seats nearest to the fireplace. The room smelled like roasted meat and cinnamon candles. Laughter echoed off the walls. It was exactly the kind of Christmas I had always loved. But Lauren barely touched her food. She pushed her fork around her plate, glancing at her phone under the table every few minutes. When I reached over to hold her hand, she pulled away, pretending she needed to adjust her napkin. I told myself she was just tired. The holidays are stressful. Everything would be fine once we got home. After dinner, we gathered in the living room to exchange gifts. The children tore into their presents with wild excitement. Wrapping paper flew everywhere. My mother handed out stockings she had knitted herself. I felt the small box in my pocket waiting for the right moment to give Lauren her bracelet. Then Lauren stood up. She walked to the center of the room near the Christmas tree and asked everyone to be quiet. The chatter died down. All eyes turned toward her. She looked directly at me, and her expression was something I had never seen before. Cold, calculated. My heart lifted. I thought this was it. I thought she was about to announce that we were expecting a baby. I started to stand up, ready to embrace her, ready to share in the joy. Then she spoke. Her voice trembled, but the words came out clear enough for everyone to hear. She said that I had given her a sexually transmitted disease. She said she had just gotten her test results back the week before. She said I had been cheating on her throughout our entire marriage. She said she trusted me and I had destroyed her. I could not move. I could not breathe. The room went completely silent except for the sound of a log cracking in the fireplace. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father's face turned to stone. My grandmother looked away, unable to meet my eyes. The children were quickly ushered out of the room by my aunt's daughters. I tried to speak. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. My brain could not process what was happening. This had to be a nightmare. This could not be real. Lauren walked toward me, tears streaming down her face. She called me a disgusting liar. Then she raised her hand and slapped me across the face so hard that my head snapped to the side. The sound echoed through the room like a gunshot. My cheek burned. The bracelet box fell from my pocket and hit the floor. My mother stood up. She did not come to me. She went to Lauren. She wrapped her arms around my wife and glared at me with eyes full of disappointment and disgust. She asked me how I could do this. She said she did not raise me to be this kind of man. My father said nothing. He simply looked at me for a long moment, then walked out to the front porch. The door closed behind him with a heavy thud. That silence hurt more than any words could have. My Aunt Patricia shook her head slowly. She said she always knew there was something wrong with me. She told Lauren that she deserved so much better. She guided Lauren to the couch and sat beside her, stroking her hair. My brother Marcus stood frozen near the window. He looked at me with confusion, but he did not speak. He did not defend me. He did not accuse me. He just stood there, caught between loyalty and doubt. I found my voice at last. I told them I never cheated. I told them I would never do that to Lauren, to our marriage, to our family. I begged someone to listen to me. I asked Lauren why she was lying. No one listened. Every face in that room had already made up its mind. Lauren sobbed louder, and the family gathered around her like she was the victim of some terrible crime. And there I stood alone in the middle of the room where I had grown up, surrounded by people who had loved me my whole life, and not a single one of them believed me. My father came back inside. His voice was low and firm. He told me to leave. He said I should not come back until I could explain myself. He opened the front door and pointed out into the cold December night. I dropped to my knees. I swore on my life that I had never been unfaithful. I begged him to give me a chance to prove it. I told him I did not even know what disease Lauren was talking about. Lauren cut me off. She said she had medical papers to prove everything. She said I was lying just like I had been lying for years. Her performance was flawless. Every tear, every quiver in her voice perfectly timed. I picked up the bracelet box from the floor. I looked at it one last time, then put it in my pocket. I walked past my family without another word. Not one of them reached out to stop me. Not one of them said goodbye. Outside, the snow was falling hard. I sat in my car for a long time, watching the flakes pile up on the windshield. My face still stung from the slap. My chest felt hollow, like someone had reached inside and scooped out everything that mattered. I did not know what I had done to deserve this. I did not know how my life had collapsed in the span of 10 minutes. But as I sat there in the freezing darkness, something shifted inside me. The shock began to harden into something else. I was not going to let her destroy me without a fight. That was the longest, coldest night of my life. But it was also the night I started digging for the truth. The apartment felt like a tomb when I got home. Lauren had already cleared out most of her belongings. Closets stood half empty. Drawers hung open with nothing inside.